What up, YouTube? Team Moose here with the documentary of John Belushi that just premiered on Showtime. I haven't seen it yet. When I head back home from work, I'm probably going to check it out. But with Belushi out now on Showtime, I decided to go ahead and do my top 5 favorite John Belushi movies. Tragically, he passed away at he passed away way too soon, so we didn't really do a whole lot to warrant a top 10 list of. But John Belushi, of course, he got his big break on Saturday Night Live, and he's been some really good, iconic comedies over the year in a short period of time. So with that being said, here's my top 5 favorite John Belushi movies. Alright, coming in at number 5, I'm going to go with the film Continental Divide. Now in it, this is about the Chicago reporter named Ernie Showalk, portrayed by John Belushi, who is being up by this double-dealing police officers after he writes about an unethical city councilman. And so he is hoping to keep Ernie. And so hoping to keep Ernie safe is his editor named Howard McDermott, portrayed by Alan Goodward. And so he ends up telling him to head west in Wyoming, and so Ernie also strikes up a romance with this bird scientist named Neil Porter, portrayed by Blair Brown, and soon he ends up going home, and he is drawn back into politics. So this is pretty much like a political based comedy that premiered all the way back in the 70s. It was a pretty funny flick. I mean, John Belushi and Blair Brown were both pretty solid in this one. Alan Gorwitz was pretty good. You also had some other interesting casts in this one. Continental Divide was a pretty interesting little comedy. If you guys have not really seen it, give it a shot. I mean, it's part political, part romance, so not that bad of a film. Alright, coming in at number 4, I'm going to go with 1941. Now, this film was one of Steven Spielberg's earliest films. Of course, I believe this was actually before he did Jaws, if I'm not mistaken. And it is it's pretty much partially a World War II based comedy, and it's like a big budget. Sorry, the movie was actually pretty big budget, believe it or not. And so, it does take place after when Japan ends up attacking Pearl Harbor. Residents of California descends into a wild panic and are afraid that they might, be the next target. And among them includes folks like Wild Bill Kelso, portrayed by John Belushi. You also got a crazed National Guard pilot named Sergeant Frank Tree, portrayed by Dan Aykroyd. Ward Douglas, played by Ned Beatty, a civilian, willing to help with the American war effort, and of course you also had famed Jaws actor Robert Stack was in this. In 1941 is actually not really Steven Spielberg's best work or anything. It's probably one of his weakest films, but it was actually not all that bad. It was a bit of like a comedy satire of history. I mean, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, of course, those two, were really tight. They worked together loads of times, and they were both really solid in this one. You had a really decent cast list. Spielberg, of course, did a pretty. I mean, he's Spielberg. What more can you want? So if you guys never really seen 1941, give that one shot. Number 3, I'm gonna go with the film Neighbors. Not to be confused with the recent Seth Rogen and Zac Efron film. Now, this film also featured Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, and it was also directed by the same director who gave us the first Rocky. He also gave us the original Karate Kid, and it's about this guy named and it stars John Belushi as Earl Keys, who lives in this ordinary house with his wife Annette, portrayed by Catherine Walker, and their daughter Elaine, played by Laura Marie Taylor, and his and he has a loudmouth neighbor named Vic, played by Dan Aykroyd, and who has a oversexed wife named Ramona, portrayed by Kathy Martin. They end up, of course, moving next door, and it's a bit similar to the Seth Rogen Zac Efron film, except Dan Aykroyd is not really a frat boy in this one. And Earl and his wife are trying to get rid of their neighbor. I mean, it's really hilarious. Like I said, it is similar to the Seth Rogen and Zac Efron film. The comedy dynamic between both Aykroyd and Belushi were both solid to watch. This movie is a really hilarious one. It got released in 1981, I believe. Yeah, 81 or 82, around 80s. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, if you guys haven't really seen the film Neighbors, definitely give that one a shot. Although you could totally tell that the Seth Rogen and Zac Efron movie was pretty much influenced by that Neighbors was pretty much an influence of the Seth Rogen one. So yeah, alright, coming in at number 2, I'm gonna go with. Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Adam House. I was gonna add Blue Brothers as number 2, but I'll get to that here in a bit. But Adam House, I mean, come on. Probably one of John Belushi's most infamous, famous roles. I mean, his character of Bluto with the blanket, with the Egyptian blanket around him. Animal House obviously is one of the most funniest comedies of all time. Of course, it got released in the 1970s. Directed by John Landis, who also gave us stuff like American Werewolf from London. The aforementioned Blue Brothers, but I'll get to that here in a bit. Yeah, Animal House is such an iconic. Such an iconic comedy. It's really hilarious. It's a really decent frat boy comedy. I mean, lots of movies today, you can tell that Animal House was influenced by films today, like Project X, American Pie, and all. Yeah, I mean, who does not love it? And of course, there was a food fight scene. You also had some really good castles, like you had Robert Hales, who portrays the lead, Stephen First. You had Cameron Allen was in this, Kevin Bacon. I believe this was actually his earliest role. Film. You even had Don Sutherland, Bruce McGill, Peter Berger. I mean, if you guys never really seen National Lampoon's Animal House, give it a shot. It's one of the funniest movies you'll see in the 70s. Alright. My number 1 favorite is obviously going to Blue Brothers. I mean, of course, another movie directed by John Landis, starring Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. And here, of course, John Belushi plays someone who, plays this guy who recently got out of prison. And so, his character named Jake reunites with his brother, Elwood, played by Dan Aykroyd, and they decide to pretty much form a music group together, simply titled the Blue Brothers. And, of course, you also had some really cool music icons was in this, like James Brown, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin. You even had roles by, Carrie Fisher was in this, John Candy. John Candy and John Belushi, two of the most iconic Johns of that era. I mean, oh boy, both of them were gone way too soon. And yeah, Blue Brothers has some really iconic music. It's entertaining. There is a really funny car crash scene that is really hilarious to watch. Of course, a car chase scene was pretty cool. I mean, yes, and of course, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi have a history together. Of course, they worked on SNL together. And not to mention, Blue Brothers is based on characters that they create on SNL. I mean, there have been so many interesting films based on SNL characters, whether you talk about Coneheads, Wayne's World, and up there is of course the Blue Brothers. And of course they did do a sequel years ago as well, Blue Brothers 2000 with Dan Aykroyd and John Goodman. That wasn't so good. But, it was pretty cool on SNL's 40th anniversary when Dan Aykroyd came out with John Belushi's brother, Jim Belushi, to perform a iconic song from the Blue Brothers. I thought that was pretty cool to watch. But, I mean, it would actually be pretty cool seeing a new Blue Brothers, but it wouldn't be the same without Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, John Belushi, boy, gone way too soon. He was he was an icon in the comedy world. And Blue Brothers to me is definitely one of his best roles. I mean, yeah, Blue Brothers is definitely a comedy that really holds up in today's world. I think if you guys never really seen Blue Brothers, it got released back in 1980. It's a comic classic right there. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. 5. Continental Divide. 4. 1941. 3. Neighbors. 2. Animal House. And number 1, it is Blue Brothers. Now, sadly, he did not really do a whole lot of other stuff. He did like shorts, and he did like few had only few roles, but sadly he passed away at a very young age. I believe he passed away at age 32, if I'm not mistaken. I know he was in his early 30s when he passed. R.I.P. John Belushi. You know, granted, John Belushi was way ahead of my time, but I still remember watching some of the stuff they did like on TV and whatnot. I mean, some of those iconic. Sadly, some of those iconic SNL players are not with us anymore. Whether you talk about Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, John Belushi, R.I.P. man, you are definitely missed. Anyway, let me leave it with you guys. Were you ever a fan of John Belushi? What's some of your favorite John Belushi films? Some of his favorite roles of yours? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This is Team Moose signing off.